Boom, here we go. I'm going to try and pin two or three little videos together and talk to you about Shot and Shell, the Seven Pines or Fair Oaks module that has just come out from Hollandspiele. And you may wonder, why is the box open and the rules all splayed out all over the place? And is this a shrink rip or is this a game review? Well, it's really neither. It's more just I was in the middle of the box having a look at stuff and reading the rules, and I thought, you know what? I should do a kind of pseudo shrink rip, so let's do that. Let's have a look at the game. Here's a couple of interesting things, and this is something that I've been waiting for quite a while. When Blood and the Elmer first came out, the background to that game led me to believe, and the way the sequence of play worked, it led me to believe that that system would be a fabulous American Civil War system. And since that time, a number of other titles with blood in the title have come out, and they have all, been interesting, but they haven't been Civil War, and they haven't really kind of grabbed me the way that I hope this will grab me in a good way. And so Hollandspiele and Tom Russell, I think, have really put a lot of thought into this system. Just after a quick read of the rules, it seems like it's very, very, very Spartan and clean and thoughtful and potentially elegant. I think that word gets slapped around a lot, but this is potentially an elegant system. And I think that's saying a lot when you look at the renaissance that has occurred since, the Richard Berg, what is that friggin' game he made? Terrible Swift Sword system, and then there was the Gamers regimental and brigade level systems, and they've really been the two big guys in the world of American Civil War tactical battle systems. Then Line of Battle came out, and once Line of Battle came out, it seemed like after that there was this, and that was a monster game. But it seemed like after that there was just this little mini boom of designs that proliferated that came out about the American Civil War, and people were experimenting with different systems to try and work out how the Civil War tactical level stuff really did work. And most of the systems that have come out, I think, have been aimed at smaller battles or smaller engagements thereabouts. And I think this is no exception. I don't know if this will play well in a larger format or not. I don't know, is this applicable and scalable to Gettysburg? Who knows? So with all of that kind of preamble in mind, I'm going to have to talk in kind of chunks of time here, because I'm using the dual camera and it only lets me do 5-minute videos at a time. So I'm going to try and pace myself here a little bit. So inside the box, so let's have a look at the box art. So the box art immediately tries to evoke a theme that is derivative of and associated with the American Civil War, with this particular wording here, being a recreation of the battle known variously by those two names. I like that, right? On the back, it has a nice description of the battle and the system and the generals that were there and kind of what happened and all the rest of it. Tells you what's in the box. Doesn't tell you much about the complexity or anything else like that, but I think you can probably guess that it's a Hollandspiele game. It means it may not be complex, but it will be nuanced, and I think we'll probably see that from this system once we dig into it. So there is one player aid here that has the fire results for both for the three types of primary combat, and that's typical ranged fire, then close combat or melee, sharpshooters, and it uses a very simple set of basic combat modifiers and your combat results here, and it revolves around step losses, disruptions, and retreats. So we'll pause here for a second and pick it right back up. So that's your play aid, and then across the top here you've got this activation track, and the activation track is pretty interesting because it's going to encapsulate a number of different factors for you. It's going to if you're here on the 8 box, you're fighting fit and ready to go, and as you activate on a regular basis, you become less fighting fit and less raring to go, and perhaps you've got some stragglers, and perhaps you're fatigued, or you've had to commit your reserves, or whatever the case may be, and you start to migrate down the path on this activation level. Now, once you get to 1, bad things can happen. If you roll a 1, you will then be moved to 0, and you will retire. And when you retire, that means you are out of the battle until you rally. Now, if you think about that, this takes a significant number of the things that we get spun up around the axle on in Napoleonics and American Civil War and that whole era, that whole concept and construct around morale and formation morale and individual unit morale and army morale and all the rest of it, and we're capturing it in an activation track. So not only is this just the ability for you to choose which unit is going to activate, there'll be a bunch of counters on here, and you'll activate McClellan, and you'll go ahead and you'll go do that, and you get to choose that action, and then you'll move him 1 or 2 depending on what happens, right? So it encapsulates all of those potential issues that all those morale factors and dice and tables and all that sort of stuff. It's all right here. That's pretty cool. So I thought that was interesting. Now, the maps are interesting. We'll take a look at them in a second. The game comes with a base unit. So if you look at Devon's there in the middle, he will have a number of steps that will go with him, and those steps will be stacked underneath him. And as those steps are lost, they're taken off the stack, and your unit is degraded over time. So we have the individual formations here that you can that are inside each core, right? And then you're going to activate these cores and move these units and have at it. Now the rules, and we'll come to the map in a second. I must be tired because I am not making much sense tonight. So the series rules are very well laid out. They're fairly packed in here. Clocks in at a measly 10 pages of rules, and they're a little lighthearted too. There's locking Zox, for instance here, locking Zox. It says, stop me if you've heard this before. Every unit has a zone of control, right? So it's expecting, and everything's defined. So you're not gonna. I've got a focus issue here. There we go. You're not gonna miss anything. If you're a new gamer, there's wording in here that will walk you through everything. Sequence of play is very straightforward. You do your activation phase. I can't see the activation phase, actions, fire, charge, and close combat. Now you'll notice there's no rally phase. There's no melee check. There's no morale checks and all the rest of it. The morale, that's all built into your activation track and combat results and things of that nature. You'll notice also on the counters there are no movement points on the counters, so the counters are very clean and elegant, I think. So that's pretty nifty. Now I've got another 30 seconds here, and we're going to pause the camera again, and I'll start the next section for us. So action phase, as I mentioned, talks about movement. There are a handful of different actions you can do: move, entrench, declare charge, and recover. There's a fair bit of rules on the different types of entrenchments: regular, heavy, light, Bartus, etc. How charges work and how artillery work. And then let's move on from here and have a look at the map and see what that has for us. Okay, so just to wrap up the rule book here. Fire phase, charge phase, and the activities that occur at the end of a turn. Let's have a look at the map. And also note, if you're not interested in my video of this, you can go and check out the video on the Hollenspiel website and YouTube channel, where they have demonstrations of gameplay. For fire combat, there's a particular video just on the map, and there's also a video, I think, on the activations, which will probably be interesting to look at. VP locations: the Fair Oak Station, the Orchard Station, and the Seven Pines down here. So I guess that tells us why the battle was named. There's the two villages that geographic locales that were important. It looks like it's a crossroads section. I'm not a ACW history buff, so I don't know much about it, which is why I read the in the scenario booklet, which comes in at 5 or 6 pages. I read through the 4 different scenarios and the lovely, well-written background with some nice quotes in there from the various generals and commanders, and Tom's view of the battle, etc. So it's probably just 2.25 pages of that, and then some specific scenario special rules, specific rules for this particular module. Man, I'm having a hard time with my using my mouth and my tongue tonight. And then I think there's a what if scenario, and then there's a couple of other smaller scenarios. So you get to cover the whole shooting match. Let's have a look at the map here. Now Ilya, I think that's how you pronounce his name. I always mispronounce it. Ilya. Did a lovely job on the map. I like this kind of. It's almost got this aged paper look and feel about, not feel, but look about it, color tone here. The trees are really well done as well, so everything's kind of muted. There's probably a terrain chart in here somewhere, I'm imagining. I'd have to have a look for it, see it, but I'll have a look for it. I'm sure it's defined in here somewhere. And you've got your physical geographic locations here, streams, and all that sort of good stuff. And you'll note that this is one of the first games that I've acquired from Hollenspiel that is the larger format maps. So it is not a multi-piece map, it's just everything in one larger sheet. So that's very nice to see, and it's nice progress from Blue Panther Printing. So, Seven Pines Battle, May 31st through June 1, 1862, from Hollenspiel Games, Tom Russell's new series. I would encourage you to have a look at it. Once I play it, we'll have another conversation about it and make some decisions about what we think about it and where it fits in the pantheon of Civil War titles that I haven't played. This will be my first, so maybe it'll color all my expectations and thoughts on every other title that I play going forward. Although I have read Line of Battle rules and all that sort of fun stuff. So anyway, we won't be coming into it completely blind. Look forward to talking to you soon. I hope you enjoyed that. All the best.